Raul Tejas was shot in the back of the head by the defendant. George Lerma was shot in the back, the chest, the arm, and the stomach by the defendant.
I just give them paper for citations. I took that method up as well, started doing that.
So every day you would generate a warning regardless of whatever they had or didn't have. Do you think you violated policy?
Cops often believe they can do whatever they want, but in the end, it's the courtroom that brings them down. You won't believe the reaction of this last cop when he's utterly buried in a courtroom.
You raped me. You knew I was highly intoxicated, yet you used that as a selfish opportunity.
Make sure to watch till the end. But we're kicking things off with this idiot cop who boldly claims to write fake tickets just to fill his ticket quota.
I've always tried to keep my tickets kind of bound with my warning because...
Road pirate, Arkansas State Trooper Legarian Cross found himself on the receiving end of a traffic stop after illegally stopping a citizen. This event set off an internal investigation that uncovered something absolutely shocking.
What's been going on with you in writing certain warnings and how many? Just kind of let us know.
6 to 8 months ago, I went to a roller paper style instead of the style putting it inside of the printer. I went to a roller style. When we first had those roller paper, it was kind of at the troop headquarters. We were kind of short on paper. So I was speaking to another trooper, and he advised me, man, a lot of time I don't give out paper to people for warning. I just give them paper for citations. So at that time, I took that method up as well, started doing that. And at the same time, when I took that method up, I became lazy and stuff like that, and not explaining to people that I have given them a warning.
Trooper Cross is now facing accusations of issuing fake warnings just to fill his quota. Keep watching as this corrupt trooper is forced to own up to his tyrannical actions.
If you never asked for the registration, they didn't give it to you, what was your reason for even printing it? I
don't have a reason. I guess because when I was sitting there, I was like, well, I don't have the registration card. I click on it and give me the registration card and just get a warning out of it. But other than that, I don't really have a reason to. Because the majority of the time I asked them for the registration card, and if I didn't get it, I go back and write a warning, but I won't give them a copy and explain to them that I gave them a warning.
The investigator relentlessly grilled the trooper, and when the truth finally came out, you'll be absolutely shocked by what he admitted. So
every day you would generate a warning regardless of whatever they had or didn't have?
Yes, ma'am. Just about every day, yes, ma'am. If I stop them for speeding, I'll click if they didn't give me the registration card, I'll click. There was a lot of times I did ask. I don't have an exact number. But I call myself go back and watch some of my videos after all this came out. But some of them, a lot of them, I did ask for registration card and they didn't provide it to me. And whenever they didn't provide it to me, I go back and I click for your display registration card. But like I said, my mistake, I didn't explain to them that I.
So this became a habit of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you intentionally doing this to pad your reports? To create more numbers?
I really want to know that. I think I just got reckless with it and just became a habit.
Explain that. What do you mean reckless with it?
Because I became lazy by not printing that paper off and taking the time out to explain to them, hey, ma'am, I gave you a warning for this or I gave you a warning for that. I just give them a citation and go on by my day.
Cross's expression spoke volumes as he was squirming under the investigator's pressure. His lies had been completely exposed, and he was about to be owned even more.
What made you do it for some and not others?
I don't have a reason.
You didn't request their registration, so why would you think they would have a problem? Did you think that was a problem?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
On whose part? Yours or theirs?
On my part.
Because you had a high number of warnings as well. Is that something that you do? Provide a lot of warnings for speeding?
Yes, ma'am. I usually try to keep mine half and half on speeding. On the contacts and also on warnings. But my warnings usually be failure to display registration or unsafe vehicle.
Okay.
Shockingly, the officer sees absolutely nothing wrong with falsifying records.
Do you feel like you was falsifying information?
Yes, ma'am. After it brought it to me, yes, ma'am.
Do you think you violated policy?
Yes, ma'am.
You do? Which one?
The reports inaccurate and stuff like that.
Okay. Citations. Did you ever falsify any citations?
No, never any of those.
And do you know if anyone else is doing anything like this?
I don't know anyone else that's doing the same thing, want to advise them or stuff like that. But I do know that, I was, that.
The thing that I'm trying to find out is were you doing this to increase your numbers of contact, or was it that they did have this violation?
Yes, ma'am. Well, and let me explain on that right there. Every time I did it like when I asked for it. If I asked for it and I didn't get it, I would do it. But there were some times that I didn't even ask for it.
Right.
And I went back and I got back to my car, and it was my fault again. I was back there at the car, and I don't have it back there, so I don't have the registration card, and I just click, just get the contact.
The investigators took a brief break, but when they returned, they came armed with even fiercer questions that really put the corrupt road pirate to the test.
But there ever times that you were thinking that if I don't ask, then I have a contact, but if I ask, they may provide it and have it signed, and I won't be able to get a contact off of that one?
I never had that thought, because it was just a warning to me. We don't even get evaluated well if we have a bunch of warnings and a less amount of tickets. So I already know that. I try to always, if you go back and look at my record, I've always tried to keep my tickets kind of balanced with my warning, because a lot of times you get frowned upon if you got 140 warnings and 30 tickets. Okay. So I try to keep it. It wasn't never.
Okay.
So I try to keep it a little. Keep myself balanced. Just by getting that, I ain't gonna ask him for just get a contact. I already knew a warning ain't gonna really help me out too much.
Trooper Cross was desperately trying to expose the corrupt police departments to save himself, and what he says next will stun you.
Every department, every troop I work for, they always look at, you got 130 warnings, you only got 35 tickets. I ain't gonna do it, because I always try to keep it kind of balanced.
Did you think it was a problem even before this was brought to your attention?
To be honest with you, ma'am, I really didn't. I didn't think nothing about it, but I look back at it, yeah. If I got a warning, I want somebody to tell me, hey, I gave you a warning for not signing your registration card back. And there was sometimes I did, tell them, hey, you need to sign this back, but majority of the time I didn't. And if I got that warning, I want somebody to tell me that, hey, man, sign the back of this, or you got a license plate lot at the back. Make sure you put above back there.
Okay, so you're not making up grade or anything like that. Got it.
The guy that trained me, he averaged 2.0 average. I averaged about a 1.2, 1.3, but when he trained me to look for everything. Just to get more contact, stuff like that. It was just, if you're out here working, you might well go, be out here working, so.
Just like that, the trooper confessed to being deep in the heart of police corruption.
This is nothing new, nothing created.
No,
you weren't trying to pad your reports, trying to get more numbers. Are your numbers higher than most people?
No, ma'am, they're not. Drunks are, but I think last month, even with this investigation started, I had a 1.1 average. I had 29 speeding tickets and 5 other arrests. So I had 35 arrests and only 120 warnings. So I know that won't give me a good rating. I know that. So I don't.
So what would be a good month for you?
A good month for me, I've been going through something here lately, but a good month for me, I usually write 80 hard, and I turn around and maybe write another 150 warnings. Okay. So I end up that's 230 or something like that. I end up with like a 1.4. I used to run about a 1.4, 1.5 every month. And I guess it's always been that 1.0 average in my head. I was always told you gotta get 8 a day,
Right.
The trooper was eventually found guilty of writing false warning tickets. He was suspended for 10 days and, to make matters worse, was made ineligible for promotion for an entire year. Things can get pretty intense in a courtroom, and this time, it's not a police officer as the suspect, but the victim.
Originally, I was going to ask you to sentence him to, I know numerically it's not possible, to 155 years in prison, 1 for each stitch that I received in my mouth.
Trooper James Cassie's routine traffic stop took a horrifying turn when he was brutally gunned down by gang member Ramon Bueno.
Early morning hours of October 8, 2014, the defendant had no regard for the life or respect for law enforcement. The actions by the defendant and his blatant disregard for human life could have easily killed officers Trooper James Casey, Ronaldo Cruz, and Mike Alfano. Public Safety, Phoenix Police Department, United States Marshal's Office, ATF, the U.S. Secret Service, Maricopa County Attorney's Office, and the FBI. A task force was established to apprehend the suspect. And personally, I was without sleep for several days worrying about the defendant as to whether he was going to kill, injure, or seriously disable anybody while on the run in his effort to elude police.
You won't believe the staggering list of crimes this dangerous criminal has racked up over the years.
During the interview, it was more important for the defendant to stay in good graces with his gang rather than be a man and accept responsibility for his actions. I respectfully ask that you sentence the defendant to the maximum on each of the counts. Thank you very much.
Raul Tejas was shot in the back of the head by the defendant. George Lerma was shot in the back, the chest, the arm, and the stomach by the defendant. He was shot 4 times by the defendant, and he's paralyzed for life. And at the time, he was living with his family. Now, Raul Tejas, the other victim in that case, a killer, and that her family is living a nightmare every single day.
It's truly unsettling to see how gang members like Bueno never seem to turn their lives around. Sometimes, it feels like certain people are destined to spend their entire lives behind bars.
Well, he failed on parole, he failed on probation, he was given multiple more chances after he came out of prison. You see from his criminal history, he victimized people, he was trafficking in stolen property, he was stealing cars, he was doing drugs, he was even shoplifting while having methamphetamine. Those were all in his prior pre-sentence reports. Completely outside the boundaries of a civilized society, and it shocks the conscience. And he is someone who, quite frankly, as everyone has said, has a complete disregard for human life. How many people has he harmed? How many chances have people given them? He does not deserve the hope of light at the end of the tunnel. He should know that his sentence should keep him in prison for the remainder of his life. He has sentenced so many other people.
Trooper James Cassie himself stood at the scene, delivering a powerful and emotional speech that left everyone in awe.
I thank the court for allowing me to speak. I'd like to also thank the Phoenix Police Department and Detective Butcher for the excellent work that they did to sentence him to, I know numerically it's not possible, to 155 years in prison, 1 for each stitch that I received in my mouth, but obviously that's not there. I would ask you, though, I'm in concurrent with Attorney Dahl. I would like you, if possible, to run all these sentences consecutive as long as possible, so he will never see the light of day. He is a very dangerous man.
Bueno showed no remorse for his horrific actions or the immense pain he inflicted on the brave officer. You won't believe the shocking words he uttered on the stand, so stay tuned.
We wouldn't be here. I would have dealt with the driver. I would have probably given her a warning for the window tint violation, and away they would have been. The attempted murder trial. I just don't think there's a need to put salt on the, add more insult to injury, I guess, so to speak. So I appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And in the end, he took center stage, delivering a cold and remorseless apology that left everyone stunned.
A fair and just sentence. Mr. Bueno respects the work of the jury, but he respectfully disagrees with their verdicts. So that's all I have. I think Mr. Bueno would like to address you.
Mr. Bueno?
I would just like to say that I am sorry for what happened to James Casey. And regardless of what they continue to say about me, that he always been in my prayers. But I also like to ask James Casey, as well as Ellen Dahl, if they can look up in the Lord's book and look up Exodus chapter 20, verse 16. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned until the very end to hear his final sentence. But before delivering the verdict, the judge had some scathing and unforgettable words for him.
Prematurely ended 3 very successful careers, and there is nothing that I can do to compensate you for the end of those careers. That it must be horrifying to sit there and think that your loved one is going to prison for the rest of his life. There's nothing I can do to change that for you, other than to say, I am sorry for the experience that you are having. And I am sorry for the pain that your loved one is causing you in this moment. To give the maximum sentence allowed for the harm that was caused to James Casey. And in addition, I must add the 5 years for the gang enhancement. Therefore, the 35 plus 5 years results for count 2 in a greater than aggravated term of 40 years to begin on today's date with pre-sentence credit for 1,932 days time served.
Bueno faced a long list of charges, and he was about to be held accountable for every single one of them.
The court does find that an aggravated term of 28 years is appropriate, with the enhancement of 5 years for a total of 33 years on counts 3 and 4, will run consecutive to counts 3, 8, 4, and 9.
In the end, Bueno was sentenced to 40 years in prison, ensuring he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Exactly where he belonged. Shifting focus to the corrupt cop. This guy was completely exposed and humiliated in court.
You raped me. You knew I was highly intoxicated, yet you used that as a selfish opportunity.
That you used your badge and the authority and power it grants you as a means to implement your criminality.
In 2016, Officer Eric Fritz stopped a car where Melissa McMillan was trying to make her way home after a night of drinking. But what happened next, after he pulled her over, was nothing short of shocking.
My friend Melissa says she's going to get a hold of her friend Joe.
Okay, well, put it this way. You got them all. You can just leave that there, that's fine. Do me a favor. Hang on.
Ex-husband.
Hang on, right there in the front of the car for me, okay?
That's okay.
That's all right. That's what I'm going to be sorry. I heard you.
Hold permission.
Instead of getting her a new ride, the officer took the intoxicated Melissa to a hotel where he raped her. The victim claims she got up while the officer was having sex with her. The officer will get the bashing he deserves. So make sure to keep watching.
All right now.
I know you.
I'm going to say this to you right now. I hope on my cigarettes because I'm stuck in the right now.
I'll get you.
I'm sorry, I'm calling you.
That's okay.
It's a college officer.
Tell me what your first recall is after leaving Captain Lou's.
Being on the side of the road.
You do remember that?
Very, very vaguely, yes.
Lay down in one of the beds that was in that room.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember doing that, or
No.
when is your next memory of seeing the officer there in the hotel room, if at all?
The next memory I have is he was on top of me.
The footage from the traffic stop is shocking. It clearly shows the officer grabbing and restraining Melissa, holding her against her will. Then, during the sentencing, Melissa took the stand. Her emotional testimony left everyone in tears. Her words were raw, powerful, and impossible to ignore.
As a police officer who took an oath to protect and serve the community, what you did to me was wrong. You raped me. You knew I was highly intoxicated, yet you used that as a selfish opportunity. My life has been forever changed. Every aspect of my life has been affected. My children have struggled. My friends, family, and loved ones have watched me through a year of hell. I can't see a police vehicle without feeling fear or be reminded of what happened.
Officer Fritz shattered the reputation of the entire police department with his shocking action.
I made a poor decision to have too many drinks, putting myself in a vulnerable position. I don't remember leaving the bar that night, but my friends had arranged for another person to drive my car as I was far too intoxicated. I had no idea the driver was also intoxicated and would get pulled over by a police officer.
Just like this, Mr. Fritz was given the chance to speak, but the corrupt cop showed no remorse whatsoever for his despicable actions.
Mr. Fritz, anything you wish to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. First, I'd like to apologize to my friends and family who I've actually let down. I'd also like to apologize for my coworkers who I embarrassed by my decisions. I'd also like to apologize to the people of Clover Township for my actions that night. And I absolutely would like to apologize for Ms. McMillan for my horrific decision of offering her a hotel room. I never should offer her a hotel room in the first place. It never should happen. I never should put her in that situation.
Thank you, sir.
Fritz conveniently dismissed the accusation of raping the woman, instead choosing to take the blame for misconduct.
You took a law enforcement oath of honor to protect and to serve and to uphold the highest of ethical standards. Instead, you preyed upon and exploited and damaged a woman who was entirely helpless due to excessive intoxication. Even more disturbing to this court is the fact that you used your badge and the authority and power it grants you as a means to implement your criminality. You betrayed her, you betrayed your fellow officers, you betrayed mightily the public trust all of us had in you.
For sentencing,
Do you still wish to waive your right to a lawyer for sentencing today? Thank you.
The officer was ultimately sentenced to just 1 year in county jail with 5 years of probation. Shockingly, he was not required to register as a sex offender. This is how Melissa reacted to the lenient punishment.
You know, there's a family behind here. An unfair, you know, it's a year. It's a year and 5 probation. It's not going to compare to what my mom has gone through, what our family has gone through, what we've lost in a year. We've bonded in a year. We've gotten closer, but I'm thankful that they took this seriously and that what needed to get done got done. It's out there, and he's not going to be a police officer anymore.
However, this isn't the end of it. Now, Melissa is suing the police officer and the city that hired him. We can only hope she receives the compensation she rightfully deserves by winning this lawsuit. And that brings us to the end of today's video. We've seen how evil and corrupt officers were held accountable in courtrooms and depositions. This video emphasizes the crucial need for accountability within police departments, proving that no one is above the law. If you agree, please show your support by liking this video. Thanks for watching.